Back to the forest. Back to the forest. How you going, fam? Hope you're doing well. I've had a bit of a sleep. And yeah, I thought I'd come and record another vlog. Why not? I want to talk about calling out toxic behaviour in Australian hip-hop. Yeah, it's interesting. I've definitely ruffled a bit of feathers with the last couple of vlogs that I've dropped. And, you know, I think I mentioned in my vlog, you know, I've been uploading snippets of this to Instagram as well, and probably missing a bit of context in some of my yarns, you know. But, yeah, it's very interesting when I see people getting defensive and they think that I'm pointing the finger. You got to understand, when you point the finger, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. I'm talking about myself. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up in this culture too. I was normalized to all of this shit too. And I've repeated it. I've had fucking misogynistic raps before. I've had all this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I've done that sort of shit. I think when we get down to this conversation, and, you know, you got art imitates life, or life imitates art. And you can't just, like, people always have their right to express themselves in their art, but you have to understand the responsibility and the accountability that comes with it. And I know my mind goes to codeine, for example, right? Codeine was easily accessible for a very, very long time. And then rap in America started, you know, trending with codeine and lean and everything like that. And then the influence led to Australia. We don't have the exact same sort of codeine drink that they have. We don't have the syrup. We have Pain Stop, which is Australia's version of liquid codeine, but it's got fuckloads of paracetamol in it. It's like a ridiculous amount of paracetamol in every bottle. So, like, drinking a bottle of Pain Stop is like eating 3 packets of Panadol alongside the codeine, you know? And, but yeah, it wasn't really till the hip-hop trend in Australia started, like, embracing codeine as a popular drug to rap about in music that it started becoming popular in Australia. Like, I think back after I got addicted to Pain Stop, because it was so easily accessible. You could just go into a chemist and say, my kid fell off their bike, I need to get a bottle of Pain Stop, and they just give it to you. You know what I mean? It was cheaper than weed. You sleep on it, you know. It was, yeah, very accessible. And then it really trended in Australian hip-hop. And then a couple of years later, it's taken off the shelf. And I remember when it happened, everyone was blaming 360 because he did that big song about it being addicted to Nurofen. And no doubt that might have added up to the picture of it, but the Pain Stop sales would have gone like zzz for like fucking however long it's been available for. Zzz, and then in the space of 3 years, bzz, you know what I mean? Like, the chemists and the pharmaceuticals and the government would have been able to see what was happening. And I'm grateful they took it off the shelf, to be honest, because it was way too easy. If you were hungover, you could just go get a pack of codeine, Nurofen, whatever. It was just very easily accessible. And it's an opiate. Codeine's fucked. It fucks your bowels. Fucking absolutely clogs you up. It's not good for you. I honestly feel for anyone that, like, has, yeah, seriously used, like, Ricodine, codeine, all that shit, because it's not good for you. It will fuck your guts, it'll fuck your colon, it'll fuck everything. But, yeah, I'd be lying if I said that hip-hop wasn't the main vehicle for Pain Stop trending in Australia. All of our drug waves in Australia were very based off what was in the movies. Like Scarface, every drug dealer had like back in the 90s, I swear every fucking drug dealer had a Scarface poster on their wall. You know what I mean? It was just how it was. People got influenced by what they could see from other countries, other places. I mean, the fact that we call people crackheads in Australia when crack cocaine has never been a fucking thing in this country as far as I know. No doubt somewhere in some small circles, but it's not crack, it's meth. It's ice. You know, like the crack epidemic in America was so ingrained in American culture, movies, music, hip hop, you know what I mean? That more people will refer to a meth addict as a crackhead than a meth addict. See? A lot of people really don't understand how much of Australian culture is actually ingrained directly from America. Like the fact that weed is illegal in Australia is based off the laws that were made to make weed illegal in America during the slavery days. And it was because hemp would have been way more sustainable and profitable than cotton. But all the cotton field owners that were also slave owners didn't want the hemp industry to take over the cotton industry. So they got all the lawmakers and politicians that were also racist as fuck to make a bunch of anti-weed laws. And then once again, Australia copies America. All right, so here's another great example. The White Australia policy. The White Australia policy was made in like 1900, and it was a law that to keep Australia white, and they wouldn't let any other immigrants that weren't white into Australia. And this is back when Australia was still, you know, Aboriginal people were flora and fauna and not even labelled as fucking humans in the Constitution, no voting, all that sort of shit. The only reason Australia dropped the White Australia policy was because of Martin Luther King in America and LBJ, the president that took over after Kennedy got assassinated. So the only reason Australia allowed black people in this country to fucking vote and be a part of everything was because the black people in America stood up for their rights and their civil rights and everything like that. And as far as I know, they still only did it because the president of America wanted Australia to be its ally in Vietnam and said to Australia, hey mate, if you want to come to war with us in Vietnam, you better, you know, accept your black people into the fucking Constitution, because our black people at home, they've got this thing now called civil rights. It reminds me of Red Faces. There's this episode of Red Faces where it was the Jackson 5 or some shit, and it was like a bunch of white Australians all in blackface dancing to a Michael Jackson song. And the Australian audience all thought it was awesome, yay. And then one of the judges was American, and he was like, no, blackface is fucking whack. And then all the white Australians looked up to him and went, oh yes, oh no, we're sorry, we didn't realise. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like Australia is Lord of the Flies and fucking America is the teachers. Whenever America rocks up and goes, hey, Australia's, oh shit, we were doing more bad shit. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to understand, when I'm linking all these things together, my train of thought sees deep comparisons in all of this. You might not understand, and sometimes my language might not be the best, but I see this culture in so many ways because of my experience in my life and how I pay attention to things. And I'm a deep thinker, and I look into stuff very deeply. And yeah, so when I'm, like, for example, last night when I was in the pub looking around, you know, like in the environment I'm in, I know alcohol is poison. So when I see 100 people in a place all on poison, you know, loosen their inhibitions, there's a part of me that's sad. Like, I love doing the show. You know, you got to understand, I've done so many shows. I've seen so many fights. I've seen so many people, you know, put themselves in really embarrassing situations because they're drunk and then beat themselves up over it, you know what I mean? I've watched people OD. I've watched so much shit at gigs over the years, to the point where sometimes I get worried when I'm going to the gig if something bad's going to happen. You know, I've seen people have got punched in the head, ended up in hospital. I've seen so much tragedy over the years when it comes to hip-hop shows. And yeah, so when I'm calling out this toxic culture, it's because I'm deep in it. You know, some of my friends are people that rap about shit that I don't really think is acceptable. Do I not like my friends? No. I'm in this with you. We are all one. We got to work together. You know, this age of like disagreeing with each other and then thinking that's a reason to turn on each other, or a reason to not talk to each other because they've got a different opinion. You know, you have to understand I have a very complex perspective due to the experience that I've had, especially in the last year. The last year has changed my life. And yeah, I saw more shit than I've ever seen, especially when it comes to different forms of trauma in different cultural environments. And it's really opened my mind in such a different way, better than ever before. I'm grateful for everyone that understands where I'm coming from. And if you don't, and if this is triggering some emotion in you, then you need to understand that that is a reflection of something that's coming up in you. Do you know what I mean? Don't confuse my passion for anger. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in this world that I can't talk about in these vlogs. I'm deeply connected across the whole country, and there is massive tragedy and trauma happening everywhere. And I've seen so much of this in the butterfly effect that I see the patterns. I see the reoccurring patterns over and over again, to the point where I'm worried because I get these feelings and this is going to happen, and then it happens, and I can kind of like, yeah, it's really full on. I get deja vu all the time. Everything to me has been really synchronizing and aligning, to the point where I see the parallels in every situation. And when it comes to this toxic culture, there is a lot of it. And there are artists that say bad shit and do bad shit. There are artists that say bad shit and don't do bad shit. There are artists that say good shit and do bad shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is why, for me, it's important to be transparent about who I am. Because I realized a lot of shit that I've said in my music over the years, especially when I was young, doesn't align with who I am now. You know, and I'm not going to delete that. I'm not going to hide it, because it shows my journey of growth. You know, but for me, like, I've got a few people going, "Oh mate, get back to making music and stop sooking about shit." And it's like, if you like me just for the music and you can't accept who I am as a person, then, you know, some people say, "Oh, don't mix politics and music." And it's like, stop trying to fucking box me in. I do not align with the box that you're trying to put me in. See a box? See any walls? And I know, like, I remember when I was young, I had a friend that took heaps of mushrooms and was like, "I don't want to live in a box anymore, blah, blah, blah," and ran away. And I thought they were crazy. You know? Don't get me wrong, we all have to find a balance. But it's these boxes that people consistently try to put you in because they're trying to figure out the own walls that they live in. Think for yourself. That's what I'm doing. I'm thinking for myself for the first time in my life. I'm so aware of my emotions now, you know, whether it's passion or whether it's pain. I don't bury that shit. That's why I put that video in there last night with Complete, because, you know, I'm fully comfortable with who I am. I'm not wearing a mask anymore. I think a lot of the problem with this hip hop scene, it's a bunch of men that are really sensitive, that grew up in dangerous environments, so they had to kind of put on this suit of armor. And if they couldn't do it physically and just be a staunch cunt, because that's it, most of the staunch cunts in jail are very, very sensitive people that grew up in very dangerous environments. So they had to be this, like, you know, put on this suit of armor that's led them to be in situations that they've ended up making a mistake in, because they're trying to project something really deep down because of fear. And I think in Australian hip hop, and I'm talking about myself, if you're getting triggered, just have a deep reflection and think about it. But because I had fear and I wanted acknowledgement and I didn't feel appreciated, I used my mind to create, to get respect, you know what I mean? And to make people like me. And the environment I was in was pretty toxic, it was pretty violent. And because, once again, I wanted people to like me and I didn't want to fear people, and I got bashed, and, you know, there was many times that I was scared. I was like, I have to do this to protect myself, you know. It's going to be an interesting journey, because I know, yeah, once again, this is going to stir up some shit. This is going to, you know, people are going to have a lot of reflections. And the thing is, I'm actually so comfortable with who I am that I don't care what anyone else thinks anymore. That's the great bit. Like, I used to, I'm definitely well aware of my neurodivergence in some way, you know. And the more that I get in tune with it, the more memories pop up, the healthier I get. My mind, like, unwinds, the more I can feel healing, the more I process emotions, and the more I lead with love and unconditional love for the people around me that support me unconditionally. I see the reflection of love in their life so much. And I felt that with Complete, you know, like seeing him in a much better position than when I did last time. I had to cry when I got home and finished the vlog too, and just thanked God, because I was just like, fuck, you know. When I went from Darwin to Perth, a big intention of mine was to catch up with Complete and just, you know, give him some love, because, you know, he's one of my best mates. He's such a loyal friend, you know what I mean? And he always has been to me through my ups and downs, you know. So, yeah. It's just all very blessed. And the thing is, the more that I can see people reacting in a negative way, it tells me that I'm on the right path. And I just see the blessings for what it is. And I see the reflections. And I see the feathers that I'm ruffling. It's all beautiful. It's all very good. When you speak the truth is when they'll test you the hardest. And I see reflections of so much pain in people. You know, I've seen someone recently call me a narcissist. I've seen, you know, God complex. But this is why I'm explaining why it's not me. Because you have to understand, if you're walking around thinking that it's you that's helping the world, that's when it will come to bite you on the ass. You know, you have to do this without any expectations. And that's why it's a slow burner. When you want to help someone, it takes a lot of patience. And if you can articulate that with someone, which I'm trying to do in this vlog, to show people, like, there's ways, there's deeper, more articulate ways that you can explain your love and support for the people around you. We come from a very shamed culture of not expressing your pure emotions, because everyone is very masked to fit in with society, and they're scared. They're scared, like when you give your emotions like that, they're scared someone will take from you, you know. But the truth is, if you can fill your own cup up, which I have now, and I've done that by finding God and universal love for myself, the land, and every human around me on a deeper level, it's just what I'm saying, you know. This journey's going to be divine. This journey's it's going to really like, it's going to process some shit. Because that's it. The real world that we live in is a very fucked up place. We're in the upside down. You know what I mean? And like, it was interesting. A few people hit me up and they're like, what about drill? And I'm not talking about everything. Drill is a massive, hectic influence at the moment. There's kids all across the country getting into fighting over postcodes and shit. Postcodes were invented by old white colonizing cunts. And now we got young multicultural kids stabbing each other over them. See the ideology, see the tribalism. If you don't know what tribalism, and you're a young lad and you're getting caught up in some gang shit, go search tribalism. Think outside the box, have a look at what you're actually doing. You know, I got heaps of mates that are in different gangs all across the country, bikies, all sorts of shit. I've been around it. And you have to understand that unconditional love for people is more important than the pack mentality. Because the pack mentality never lasts. The pack always changes. Doesn't matter. There's no forever these days. The crew changes, it grows. If you don't move and adapt with the times and the way the pack changes, then you'll end up very heartbroken. I know a lot of bikies that give their life to the club for years and it all went to fucking shit. It all went to shit. And anyone that knows the game will admit that, you know. That doesn't mean I haven't got love for the other fellas. Like, it is what it is. Find your truth, find your peace, but understand the answers are in your heart, not in the world around you. It's the kingdom of man. It's the hierarchy sort of shit. You know, hierarchy and the patriarchy is involved with all this sort of shit. Like subconsciously, like, it was interesting. I was reading a book and it was explaining how, you know, hierarchy works. And it kind of reminded me, I guess, of what the term groupie means. Because, you know, I don't like the term groupie. So the way I see a groupie, once again, I'm just using the language because this is what people say. If you take offense to it, that's the reality of the world, you know. So naturally, like, I think in our hard wiring as humans, from what I can tell, and I've noticed this for years through doing it and being that person in that situation, when you are like on a stage at a show, subconsciously, you're the leader of the pack. So for the people in the crowd that aren't aware of their instincts and what's happening, will be naturally more attracted to you because you're the special person. And we do this with fame. So fame is kind of based off this inner hard wiring that makes us look to the leader of the pack. And, you know, you look at I guess like the Beatles wave, you know, and that was the first wave that was marketed to teenagers. The teenagers are just losing their shit. And it's because when you're a teenager, you're still deep in your instincts, you're going through, you know, hormones, all that sort of shit. You see the famous person who's the ultimate leader of the pack because everyone cares about them, and something in your hard wiring is like, them, I love them, you know what I mean? It's definitely an aspect of it. I'd say it's got more to do with the whole idea of groupie than the actual music, because you look at all different genres, the behavior is the same. When someone wants to hook up with you because you're the coolest person in the room, it's on some hierarchy shit. And this goes into every life situation, you know, like, you know, finding your mate, all that. This is like fucking David Attenborough human shit. And that's all I see when I see, you know, groupies. I can tell when I'm at a gig and the difference between a chick that is looking at me for who I am or a chick that's looking at me for who they think I am. I can tell as soon as I look at them, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's a very interesting thing because, yeah, when I was young, I definitely always, I was always the young fella that get friend zoned, so I was jealous of the cool cunts, you know what I mean? And a big part of me wanting to become rapper and a big famous was definitely to get attention from women, you know? But once I realized, once again, I was operating in a mistaken identity. I was putting something out to the world to make people like me, but it wasn't truly me. So when people liked who they thought I was, and then, you know, I get to know them in person, I'd end up heartbroken because they didn't actually like me for me. And I know this happens with every artist and every person that puts out something to the world, you know. Because let's face it, we're at a point where people are a mix of being themselves and what they want to be, because the influence is so fucking strong. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to do is rip back the layers. I'm trying to rip back the layers and understand and just move with pure sovereignty of understanding the world around me and breaking it down. And yeah, if this affects you, once again, if you're triggered by it, then you need to have a look why this is affecting you that way. Because you might think I'm angry in the video, or I'm crying in the video, and I'm emotionally unstable, or I'm mentally unstable. But if anything, I'm clearer than fucking ever. And anyone that knows me, that actually knows me, knows I'm fucking good. Ask Dundee. I'm fucking in the best shape I've ever been in my life. He has watched me go through all the ups and downs. But ask Dunners, I'm good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. But you got to have a look in the mirror. Because we do some toxic shit. We living in the upside down. There's people getting more triggered at me talking about this shit than they do at people rapping about slapping women, shanks and shivs, all this shit. And God bless. Don't get your back up. I'm not judging you. I've done fucking just as much fucking said this in battles. Fuck, I've said some shit in battles. I've been racist, I've been homophobic, I've said all the bad shit. All you motherfuckers doing drill haven't said as much bad shit as I have in battles, I guarantee you that much. I've destroyed people's feelings. You know what I mean? I've done some toxic ass shit. And I'm unwinding it, I'm owning it, I'm being accountable. Be accountable. Some of you motherfuckers have kids. I don't even have any kids. This is what pisses me off. Is that I look at the world and I see people that are in this situation that have daughters and they're still rapping about fucking bitches. I remember being in a studio in Melbourne years ago, and a rapper came in with his partner and he paid for some studio time. And his partner sat there and he goes in the booth and he's like, yeah, I'll fuck your bitch, I'll fuck your fucking bitch, fuck your bitch, fuck your bitch. Yeah, fuck your mother's bitch, fuck your mother, fuck your sister, fuck your bitch, and your bitch. Just some fucking whack ass shit. And his poor girlfriend just sat there on the couch listening to a partner rap this fucking whack ass shit about fucking every bitch in the world. And she just sat there staring at the ground, just hating her life. And I remember just looking at her like, oh, you fucking poor darling. What is this fucking shit? You know what I mean? Like, what is this cunt doing? And I ended up having a chat with him about it. But he was so deep in the influence of the shit that he was watching, that he was replicating, that he couldn't understand what I was trying to explain to him. So, okay, I'll wait another 10 years. You know what I mean? If you don't understand my perspective, that's all right. You don't have to. You don't have to listen. You can cut me off. Even if you do whatever you want. I'm just letting my neurodivergence fucking go wild. That's what I'm doing. I'm just like full flexing. Just flexing my thoughts. The more I do this, the more I charge up. The more healthier I get physically too. It's fucking sick. You know, everywhere I go, people are like, you're looking good. What are you doing? I'm like, being my fucking self. Not masking anymore. I'm charging. I'm channeling. It's fucking good. I see how shit is the way it is, and I can choose to operate and react to it in the way that I want. And I process my emotions right there on the spot. But I'm in control. You have to understand, I'm very in control of my emotions. I'm very emotionally aware right now. And I'm so grateful. The gratitude is just flowing through me. I see blessings in every moment of my life around me. And yeah, I saw that last night. And I know that through this journey, especially when I start doing another lap around the mainland, you'll see. You'll see. You'll see my perspective. I love you. Have a good one, fam.